Welcome everyone back to the Monday Night Wars. This is WCW side. This is Nitro for the week 15, December the 18th, 1995. This is the 16th episode of Nitro, but the 15th week they go at it. I won't make you wait for the ratings as usual. Nitro drew a 2.7, which was good enough as Nitro beats the WWF Raw with a 2.7 score to 2.3. Nitro now all-time through 15 weeks has one equal number of wins more than the WWF. Nitro has 7 wins to WWF 6 wins, and then there's 2 draws. Again, they are 7, 6, and 2 against Raw. So this Nitro that drew a 2.7 and 1 is commentated by Steve McMichael, Eric Bischoff, and Bobby the Brain Heenan as usual. They have done all 16 episodes of Nitro so far, the first 16. This is week 15 of the war, but it's the 16th Nitro. And next week it gets really dicey because Raw's not on, so I'm not reviewing next week's Nitro. So soon it's going to be the 18th episode of Nitro in the 16th week, whereas right now it's just the 16th Nitro in the 15th week. It'll make sense when you see the episode number different from the week of the wars. I only review the wars. So the weeks of the wars, when they're both going at each other, that's the only 2 shows I review. If one of them isn't on, I skip it. I'll review what happened on that episode in the next review. But as far as reviewing it like this, like giving it its own 10-minute review, no. Only the shows that go against each other. So next week's Nitro I will skip, but I will tell you what happened on it in the next Nitro review. Nitro begins with a bang as this comes with Medusa. She comes out for the first time saying, I used to be Alundra Blaze, but now I'm Medusa. This is where the big boys play. This is where the big girls play. This is the WWF Women's title. And then she just says, here's a garbage can. And then she throws it in the garbage, and Bischoff is like, oh my God, what is that? And Bischoff is the brainchild behind it all. Bischoff loves it. You can just see it in his face. Then the refrigerator Perry comes to the booth, shaking Heenan's hand. Bischoff just loving the fact Medusa threw the title in the can. Keeps going over and over it. Anyway, let's go to the ring. Kicking off from Augusta, Richmond County Civic Center in Augusta, Georgia. Live on TNT. Ric Flair versus Eddie Guerrero. We got the match we were supposed to see the week or 2 before when Flying Brian was substituted for Flair. Eddie Guerrero does his usual, Eddie Guerrero watches while Flair does his usual stick for about a minute, where he he goes like this to himself, and then he walks around the ring and he woos, and then he fixes his hair and he struts, and then he walks around some more and then woos some more, just his usual shit for about a minute. Eddie Guerrero says, all right, we can wrestle now? Well, let's wrestle. So Eddie took him over in an amateur hold, and then Eddie Guerrero started doing a strut. That happened on Raw the week before when Double J did that, and then Jobber started strutting. I can't remember what the name of the wrestler was that strutted around, but I think it was Fatu. So it wasn't a Jobber. It was Fatu that strutted around with Double J. So we see that on Nitro and Raw. Somebody stealing the strut. Eddie Guerrero then chopped. Eddie runs into a boot from Flair. Flair was looking to become the new WCW champion eventually, so he needed momentum with a victory over Eddie Guerrero. Eddie with a huge tornado DDT out of the corner, and then Eddie holds a wrist lock while he gets a springboard Hurricane Rana. Flair kicks out. Eddie Guerrero pushes into the steel barricade on the outside. Flair chopping away at Eddie by the guardrail. Ric Flair in the ring sets up the figure 4, and Eddie is in the center of the ring and refusing to give up, but then he kind of passes out, so the officials count to 3 while he's on his back. So Flair wins at 7:36. I gave the match 2 stars and 3/4. It was really good. Mean Gene talks to Arn Anderson, who was great on the mic. Sullivan comes out interrupting them, both praising them, but he says that you guys are keep Pillman on a short leash. Flair says, relax, we're all brothers. And then Arn says, if you target Pillman, you might run into Flair and Arn. So you better watch it when it comes to Pillman, because they're the Horsemen now. Bischoff goes over the Medusa thing again, throwing the women's title from the WWF into the garbage can. Lex Luger then, with Jimmy Hart, takes on Marcus Alexander Bagwell with Scotty Riggs, the All-American males they are. Alexander Bagwell with a bunky flip, an arm drag takedown, Luger off the apron shoved by Bagwell. Bischoff talks about the bodies of both men because Bagwell spends 7 days a week in the gym and Luger has the physique of a gladiator. Jimmy Hart telling him to get back in. Marcus Alexander Bagwell has his head rubbed on the top rope. Luger controlling the pace, but Marcus Alexander Bagwell comes back with the elbows to the midsection. Clothesline and another one. Luger misses the clothesline, but Bagwell hits one and went to drop, but Luger got his knees to the gut. So Luger countered with the knees to the gut and then hit a power slam on Bagwell. Then he picks him up for the torture rack at 3:08, gets the win. I rated it a 1.25 stars. Mean Gene talks to Jimmy Hart and Luger and Lex, who says he'll be champion soon, and badmouth Savage. A Starrcade promo was aired with New Japan facing off against WCW. Now we got Earl Robert Eaton with Jeeves, he's a blue blood, versus Sting. Earl Robert Eaton, a side headlock and a standing switch by Sting, 2 leapfrogs and a monkey flip by Sting to Earl Robert Eaton. Eaton with his left hand behind his back, walking around all proper. Sting and the fans acknowledge each other as the fans chant for Sting, and he does a wave. The fans do a wave, and Sting does the wave kind of with them. Sting, then worn down by Eaton, takes a stiff uppercut, snapmare, and an armbar by Earl Robert Eaton. And then into a standing armbar. As he's firing away, Sting hits a hip lock takedown and then runs into a backbreaker by Earl Robert Eaton. Sting then back in control, hits a Stinger splash followed by the Scorpion Deathlock, and that gets it done at 3:59. Sting beats Earl Robert Eaton, and after the Stinger locks up another win, and he's on a roll going into Starrcade. I rated that a 1.75 stars. Mean Gene goes to Sting and says it's the holidays, but they've got to discuss Starrcade in the triangle match. Sting will not forgive Flair for what he did joining the Horsemen, so Flair's going down. Luger is his best friend, even though he doesn't agree with what's going on right now. And Savage, he says, well, Savage, I want to become a 6-time champion. And the fans cheer Sting. Next up, Macho Man Randy Savage defends his world title against the Giant, who has Jimmy Hart and the Taskmaster in his corner for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Macho Man Randy Savage with quickness versus brute force here of the Giant. Savage jumps on Giant's back trying to choke him out that way. Savage chokes out Giant on his back, and Giant grabs Macho Man from behind and just picks him up and tosses him off his shoulder to the canvas floor. Giant with an elbow and then slams Savage into the buckle. Macho wrestled this match like he did when he wrestled Andre the Giant in the late 80s. Same moves. Savage tries to work on the head of the Giant. He tried to get on top, but Randy then got dropped with the backbreaker. Savage picked up and dropped onto the floor by Giant. Randy against the barricade, but Savage is elevated and thrown off the top rope by the Giant from the floor. Giant with a body splash off the top misses. Giant then went to the top rope and hit a Giant body splash, but misses Savage. So Macho Man hits a top rope elbow, but the Giant kicks out, tossing Savage up from the floor into the air like 6 feet. No, it was like 3 or 4 feet, but still, it was pretty cool how Savage, sort of like when the end of the '93 Rumble when Yokozuna pushed Savage up in the air and he leaped up and fell over the rope. Giant could get a 3, but he doesn't go for it. He then hits a leg drop. Hogan comes out with a chair and hits Giant in the back of the head before Giant can count the 3 to beat Savage for the title. So he doesn't beat Savage for the title because Hogan comes in, hits him with a chair, disqualifying him. Savage retains the title, but the Giant wins by DQ at 7:30. I give it 2 stars. Hogan is laying everyone out with chairs. McMichael and Perry, the 2 former NFLers, try to calm him down. The show ends with Perry and McMichael reminding him he's on probation, and the fans chant Hogan. Hogan checks on the condition of the Macho Man, who is back up after the commercial. Mean Gene says he risks on doing something bad happening to him because he's on probation, and Hogan said, just like the Macho Man, brother, what it is what it is. Hogan then lays Jimmy Hart and the Giant with a chair some more in the entrance aisle, over and over, and then Hogan says, ooh yeah. I think Hogan always loved that line. I think he wishes it was his. He always uses it in interviews and off interviews. Next week, Savage faces Ric Flair again. I'm not going to go over that next week because that is not competing against Raw. There is no Raw next week, so I will skip to the other week, and then I'll tell you what you missed, and then it's Nitro. So last week, the TV ratings were 2.6 to 2.5 for Nitro. Now they're 2.7 to 2.3, a win of 0.4. WCW wins another week, and now the record is 7, 6, and 2 all time for Nitro. That's wins, losses, and draws. 7, 6, and 2. Quality-wise, I give it a 6.5, just like last week. Thanks to everyone watching these reviews for the 16th week of the Monday Night Wars. Next, we'll see you then. This is week 15. Nitro wins in the war, and they get a 6.5 out of 10. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out.